Mark Weeks, 52 Weeks Financial. It's amazing. Like, you talk to so many young people, and when I'm talking about 30 years or younger, I've got really good friends who have kids, and every once in a while, life insurance will come up, the topic of conversation, and there's a good handful of my friends that like don't even embrace the idea of life insurance. Oh, that's a ripoff. And I'm going, I can understand that when you're 22, 23, you're inevitable, right? Nothing's going to happen to you. But I'm talking about people that have kids. Like, if something happened tragically, they would be left with, their wives would be left, or they, even if their wife passed away tragically or something like that, they'd be left paying for the house bill for the rest of their life. They'd be left paying the mortgage and college tuition. So I don't know if it's kind of a mindset that younger people traditionally have because they feel
invincible.
Invincible.
Right. Well, so insurance companies exist so that we can take risk that we're not prepared to mitigate or manage on our own and transfer that to a company or corporation that can handle that risk. So for very few dollars, you can buy a substantial amount of life insurance and transfer that risk to an insurance company. And then as you age, as your assets grow, then maybe you can mitigate that risk, manage that risk on your own.
Yeah. The other thing I hear thrown out a lot, the buzzwords of, I'm a financial advisor, right? I'm a financial planner. But as I spent more time around you, I've realized there's a very distinct difference between a certified financial advisor and just a regular old financial advisor, right?
Yeah. So what I do is I run a financial planning firm, and that means that we have certified financial planners on staff. So when you sit down and go through a plan, you want to know that you're working with someone who is working in your best interest, which is the regulation that we all work under now, that you have someone that's knowledgeable. And to earn that certified financial planner designation, it's a very intense course. I would liken it to a master's degree. Mm-hmm. So a financial advisor could be a CFP. They don't have to be a CFP, but they can, it's sort of, you don't know exactly. What we see out there right now is everyone saying you want to go with a fee-based financial planner. That's sort of what I hear a lot about. If you look on the internet, if you sit down and say, what should I ask a financial planner or whatnot, typically you're going to find in the results, hey, you want a fee only. You don't want someone that earns commissions. You want them to, outline what this is going to cost to you, and make sure that they have your best interest. At our firm, we're sort of a mixed bag with that. For instance, you can't really buy life insurance with a fee. There's going to be a commission paid to somebody. Right. If you buy a life insurance policy, somebody's getting paid a commission. If you came in and just bought a mutual fund, someone's going to get a commission on that. Now, if you come in and you want hundreds of thousands of dollars or $20,000 invested and managed, you could set up where that's done by a fee.
Mm-hmm. Let's say I don't know where to start because, for 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't know where to start. But I could be 25 years old and just married, and I'm thinking about my financial future. I could be coming out of the back end of 2020 and COVID-19 thinking, wow, I really need to start thinking about my financial future. In layman's terms, for people that don't understand or are almost sometimes afraid to just take the first step and start, if I walk into your office, 52 Weeks Financial, what would the first meeting, what would the first conversation look like?
Yeah, so we have a very defined process, and it's out on the website, 52weeksfinancial.com, that we walk you through. So the first thing we're going to do is sit down and look at what you want. What is it that you want your financial independence to look like? So that, nobody, you and I both right now are not financially independent. We're employed. We have to come in and work. But at some point,
when you say financially independent, what do you mean? So I can retire and live the rest of my life?
Financial independence, exactly. So, or you can work. I mean, a lot of people
don't need to work to live.
Don't need to work to live.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. You can do what you want, and you're not worried about your income and your assets and your money. But the first thing we do is look at what you have, and then we ask you a lot of questions about what it is that you want to have later. We're going to sit down. We're going to look at what you have, identify your goals, and then we're going to go through a financial plan. And that's not going to cost you a dime. You just sit down with our planner. We're going to go through it, and then we'll put something in front of you, and it looks like a map. And it's got a beginning, and it's got an end, and we've got roads and streets highlighted for you, and we can show you how to get where you're wanting to go.
And I'm sure a part of that plan involves roads and streets like what I'm about to go through, where all of a sudden, boom, now you have a daughter that's coming and you're adding, a whole nother person to the family, which means, more questions, more concerns. So that's where I'm at, right? I mean, my daughter's due in July. It even sounds weird to say that. I remember when I first got married and you would introduce your wife. And you say, this is my wife. That and then you get used to that.
Yeah.
I'm in that phase now saying my daughter. So I know eventually I'll get used to saying it. But all these questions, concerns, thoughts, ideas about 529s, 401k. Should I be putting more money in my 401k? Should I be starting a college fund? Is the financial planning that you just talked about and described from day one at 52 Weeks Financial that you would take somebody through and educate them on, is that also a part of family planning, or is that kind of separate?
No, it is. And Hudson, for guys like you and for me that are starting families or have families, the most important thing is to protect our income. Disability insurance is overlooked quite often. So it'd be interesting when you're talking to your pals and the ones that are talking about life insurance to see if they have disability coverage, because much more likely to be disabled. You come from a football background. Obviously, what is the career life in the NFL?
3.5 years max.
3.5 years. So,
not for long, they say is the acronym. NFL.
NFL, not for long. I like that.
That's specifically applied for me.
But that is so we're going to start in the financial plan. We'll definitely have risk-based ramifications and conversations, because right now, at our age, at your age, we can't afford to self-insure our disability insurance or our income insurance. I mean, if you were not able to come in and do this job or anything, what's coming into your bank every month to keep your household moving?
What's been along that lines? Whether it's young people thinking about putting money aside for college tuition for their child, or just putting more or less money into their 401k, what's been your answer to, and this may be a very broad question, but Mark, I was putting X amount of dollars in a college fund or a 401k, but then COVID hit. Now I've been furloughed. Now my paycheck has been cut. I don't have the income coming in every month. What's been your advice for that? Keep the same amount, or?
My advice is always protect mom and dad first. I know that sounds terrible. I have 4 kids.
You speak from experience.
Certainly. But you have to make sure mom and dad are okay. I mean, the kids ultimately will grow up. If they have to take on debt to get through college, if that's what their path looks like, it's better for them to take that on than mom and dad. Otherwise, mom and dad are going to be shacking up with the kids and say, hey, we paid for your college. Now we don't have any money. We're coming to live with you.
I didn't grow up in the maybe this is a generational thing. 52 does not play on how old you are, right? That you're not 52, right?
No,
you and I are more closer to age. Okay, just double checking. You're more like what, 32? We'll go with that.
Perfect.
There we go. But in all seriousness, I didn't grow up in there was this understanding that look, you either get a scholarship or you're going in the Army or the military. We're not paying for your college tuition. Kids now, it's they almost, I don't know, there's this mindset that college is going to be paid for, and great for them. If you can afford to do that, then great. I mean, it is absolutely a huge blessing when you can walk out of college with no school debt. But do you ever get people that come to you and they're going, Mark, they feel the pressure to provide for college tuition?
Absolutely. And that's where you go back to the financial plan. And again, you've got to make sure that your financial life is in order before you make sure your kids' financial life is in order. That goes just like what your parents told you. Hey, you want to go into the military? You want to go to college? Get a scholarship? That's the advice that parents really should be giving their kids.
I know in terms of the market, there's always ups and downs, and you never, it's always a bit unpredictable. But in terms of 2021, how do you feel about what the market's going to do and what it's going to look like?
So new president. COVID is still here. Vaccines not rolled out as quickly as they anticipated. If we can get to, that herd
immunity,
then I think the economy looks pretty good. Now, fundamentally, there's a lot going on out there. We're printing too much money, and we're taking debt on federally that's going to eventually have to be paid back. In the short term, all that money, people, like I said earlier, people have more money in their pockets than they've ever had right now. So it feels good, and there's more money on the way. So in the short term, this year, it looks like positive markets because there's so much stimulus out there that's generated into the economy from the stimulus checks.
Speaking of stimulus checks, more stimulus money you think coming? Interest rates going to stay low? I know some people in my friend group have refinanced already this year because of the interest rates of how low they've been.
Interest rates may creep up a little bit, but they're going to continue to be at historical lows.
So highly recommend refi.
Continue to talk to your mortgage person, make sure that the numbers work out, and yeah, I think it's a great time to refinance. And I know it's been talked about now for the last decades, but very recently the kids can now make some money on their likeness.
Yeah, name, image, and likeness. Yeah.
Does that when is that actually going to happen, or is it going to happen? Or
I haven't read up on it as of lately, but I do know it's becoming more and more talked about, and there's actually legislation. I just read a headline last night. I didn't even read the article on CBS Sports, and they were talking about how a new bill or new legislation is being passed for name, image, and likeness. I know certain states like Florida, I believe last year, passed it. And so, now everybody in the recruiting world is thinking, okay, well, like Miami and Florida State and Florida and those schools have a recruiting advantage to get players because now all of a sudden they could say, and I don't think it's at this point yet, but they could say, hey, in Florida, you can make money off your name, image, and likeness. In Georgia, you can't. Certainly, I could see where that would be a recruiting advantage.
Right.
If I'm a 5-star recruit and I can go to Miami, Florida State, or Florida and potentially endorse a car dealership or a certain product and make 6 figures, yeah. I mean, are you kidding me? That would absolutely give those schools, I believe, a competitive advantage. So I'm sure that's where the NCAA, Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, will step in and try to make sure that even if it's a state-by-state thing, that there's a level playing field for all schools. But, yeah, I believe it's going to be here sooner than later.
Hey, it's Hudson Mason here. Check out more with Mark Weeks of 52 Weeks Financial when we bring you more insight next week. And also check them out at 52weeksfinancial.com.